From staying at a whiskey distillery
to chasing 50-foot tides
and exploring 300-million-year-old fossil cliffs.
This is our complete Canadian Maritime route.
And this might be our most ambitious van life adventure yet. Stick around. Last week, we showed you how we were packing our van for 18 days.
Today, we're revealing the complete route that we spent months planning.
Subscribe because you're going to want to see if this actually works when we hit the road. So you're probably asking yourself, why the Canadian Maritimes? One, we've never been and it's close by.
Two, we love national parks, and ironically, we are closer to more Canadian national parks than we are US.
I actually have some family ties up there and going to do a little bit of genealogy research as part of our itinerary.
And just the incredible history, which we'll dive into more as we dig into the itinerary.
So let's get into the route. So if folks aren't aware, one of the big things, particularly in the Maritimes, Bay of Fundy, in the tidal bore, they have these huge tides, like what?
50 feet, and it's like, they say it's like minutes you can see the tides come in and out. And it's covered in mud, and there's some crazy stuff to do out there.
Obviously, tide is playing a factor into this. When we dive into the route here in a second, you'll actually see we had to consider the tides, right?
Yep, for quite a few days when we were in the Bay of Fundy National Park area.
And then, you know, obviously with that, there's some slack in our schedule, but if the weather's not good and it's rainy.
Yeah, some of the activities right now we have planned would not be fun on a rainy day, especially if it's a cold, rainy day.
Yeah, so we have a little bit of slack, but that could impact what we do. Again, we say the tides change really rapidly from day to day up there, so we'll see how that goes when we get into things. Seasonal considerations.
Yeah, we're going during Canada Day.
Yeah, which is like 4th of July.
Which luckily we have a few different national historic sites planned that day, but surprisingly we double checked, they're all open and they're actually free admission on that day.
Right. So worked out well in our favor. You know, that's just some of the considerations that really took months of planning.
And the big one was replanning part of the route when we realized that the genealogy center was only open certain days, so we had to re-vector our route to make sure we were there a day they were open.
Right. So let's pop up the route here, put it around us, beside us somewhere, and take a look at where we're going. Yeah,
so first day we just travel up and make it to the border before crossing.
Yeah, we're actually staying at a Harvest Host. Which is really cool. We're staying at a vineyard?
A vineyard. It'll be a first time with Harvest Host, so it'll be a learning experience for us.
Right, we haven't done those ones before, but I've seen other folks have used it. Everybody loves it.
Yeah. So then the second day, we've got a lot of driving. We're going through Montauk. Did I get it right?
Moncton.
Moncton. I get it wrong every time. And one of the big sites there we wanted to see was Magnetic Hill.
Yeah.
Which, if you're familiar with, it makes it look like your car is driving itself uphill.
Yeah, backwards almost. So, looking forward to that.
And then,
before you go, not to make you go back and make people dizzy.
The tides.
Tides you can see. So we did estimate some of the tides in here. This is Wanderlog. We should have said that, by the way. Forgot to mention that. But the tides are here. Vicky looked them up. We have estimated tides for that day, just to see some stuff at this point.
Yeah, because from Moncton.
Yeah.
You can actually, you're close enough to Bay of Fundy to actually see some of the tides if we're there at the right time. But if we're not, we have that planned later in our itinerary to definitely dedicate some time there.
Yep.
Then after that day, we're heading on to Cape Breton. And the first place we're planning to stop there is actually the Glenora Distillery.
Just click on it.
Yeah.
There's the
so
route.
There's our route for that day. Out to the distillery. That's the one night we won't be staying in the van.
Yeah.
Because we figured if we're gonna enjoy the distillery tour and the sampling, then we might as well stay for the night.
Yeah.
And enjoy some of the music, live music they have every night within their pub. So that's on the agenda. Then on the fourth day, we mentioned, visiting historic kind of sites,
locations.
So one of the historic sites is the Alexander Graham Bell Museum, which will be definitely interesting to see. And you'll see a lot of cross between visiting historic sites and then hiking and outdoor activities are really our primary focus, I think.
It's kind of what we do.
Yeah.
Part of wandering. Just a note too, we're not hitting all the points on here. It would make this a really long video. We want to share this itinerary?
Yeah, we'll share it.
We'll put a link down below for this as well.
Yeah, and then you can view it on Wanderlog and see, exactly where we're planning to go every day of our trip. And hopefully we can fit it all in.
Yeah, we'll do, like for our Ireland trip, if you haven't seen that, we have a guide for that as well. You put a whole guide together with tips and tricks afterwards.
And kind of our thoughts on all the different sites that we went to and, what were a must-see and what were maybe not.
Yeah, I know this one you've talked about a lot. Meat Cove.
Yep.
That's like famous, right? A lot of folks.
Yeah, and it's like a teeny tiny town that's like out on the northern, easternmost tip of
you could see
Cape Breton, all the way up here. And there is a mountain there you can hike, which we plan to hike, that gives you a full 360-degree view from the top.
Yeah.
So hopefully the weather cooperates and we have, that beautiful day. And then the other trail that we plan to hike that's really key is the Skyline Trail within Cape Breton.
Yeah. That'll be cool. Oh, yeah, so another historical site. Is this during Canada Day?
No.
No, that's not. Okay.
Yeah.
But Louisbourg, it's a fort, right? The fortress?
Yep.
Yeah, that the French had and the Brits took over. So really looking forward to that. You'll see we have a note on Discovery Pass. We'll talk about that in a little bit, some of that stuff. Bunch of other really cool things along here in Cape Breton.
Quite a few things from...
Yeah.
What's the thing?
I don't know.
The app with all the crazy places to go see.
Oh, Atlas Obscura.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't sure which one you're talking about. So day 7 is where we actually have the genealogy appointment. Already been in communication with the folks up there. So really looking forward to that and solving some...
In Pictou.
In Pictou, yeah, Nova Scotia. Solving some mysteries around the family. That'll be the big event for me on that one.
Yeah. And then after... leaving the Pictou area, we've got a couple days in Halifax. So we have a few different historic sites that we want to see there.
Yep.
With the Citadel on one of the days, along with their Immigration Museum and Maritime Museum.
We think, is that the one that has the Titanic stuff?
I think that's one that has the Titanic. So there'll be a little bit of a connection between what we saw in Ireland and what we're seeing on this trip.
Yeah, we actually saw 2 things in Ireland. If you look at our videos there, down in Cove, which was the departure point, and then Belfast, where they built the Titanic. And then to see this is where a lot of the survivors were rescued and brought to. So
pretty
full circle.
Cool. And then one thing is the farmers market and doing some eating while we're in Halifax. Then...
Oh, this is another one of those famous sites, particularly for photographers. Peggy's Cove, particularly the lighthouse, is well known. You can see the picture here, So that'll be fun, interesting stop, kind of like the Portland Light when we hit the winter and we're trying our AI travel planning.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna let you try to pronounce that national park because
I know people call it Keji for short, and I heard somebody else say it. Now I can't do it. Watch.
Well, Keji, I like Keji for short, and we can stick with that because we should be able to get that correct. So there's actually 2 parts of the park. One by the seaside we'll plan to hike at, and then we're staying up in the northern and more inland section of the park that night.
That'll be cool. Day 12.
Then from here, there's...
the gardens here. The Annapolis Royal Garden.
Yep. And quite a few national historic
stuff to see there.
Yeah. And then we move into the adventures of the Bay of Fundy.
Yeah.
So this one I'm really excited for. And hopefully
we don't say too much about it. If the weather cooperates, this will be pretty cool.
Yep.
And fun. And a little...
And I think the tides are going to cooperate with the predicted low and high tide times for what we want to do for an adventure that day.
Yep.
And then the next day, we'll be checking out
the fossil cliffs we mentioned. 300 million year old.
Yeah. And then hopefully doing some kayaking in the Bay of Fundy if tides cooperate that day.
And weather, as we said, wouldn't want to do that in the rain. Cold rain. If it warm rain, okay, but not cold rain.
And then, a little bit of a more relaxing day with some just hiking around the Fundy National Park.
Right, that'd be cool.
And then one of the big things that we found researching was the Fundy Trail Parkway, that there's a ton of viewpoints, waterfalls, different things to see that are actually very close to the road.
So it's a drive and stop kind of scenic route.
And then that kind of wraps up. We've got, one last day before we head back.
And this is in New Brunswick?
No, well, I guess it's in New Brunswick. It's in St. John's.
Yeah, it's New Brunswick.
So the tide's here.
Yeah, it's cool, the reversing falls. So it actually, depending on the tides, it actually changes the fall. So that'll be kind of interesting to see. And then back.
Yeah, we get into, at the end of that 17th day, back into Maine to stay overnight, and then on the road back to New Hampshire.
So that's the detailed planning. Up next, we'll talk a little bit about logistics and some tips. So we just stepped through our route, and last week we showed you how much we were packing for that whole trip. Kind of a lot.
Yeah, so in the comments below, let us know if you think we went completely overboard with our route planning, or if this level of effort is worth it.
Yeah, this makes sense. So most folks probably want to know, what's this going to cost? We did, of course.
Yeah. And
we have a rough budget breakdown. I'll pop it up somewhere here.
Yeah, it's something that we use Wanderlog to track and break it down by our lodging, our activities, sightseeing tickets. One thing that's not in our budget right now, our estimate is about $2,400-$2,500, but that doesn't account for any of the food we're going to either buy or eat out. So well, maybe not surprisingly, because we're driving and it's a long distance, our largest expense is gas or diesel.
It's almost half of it, right?
Not quite, maybe
just under.
A good third, I think. Then the next top expense is lodging. And then the rest is followed by the tickets for things like the Discovery Pass or any other sites that aren't covered by the Discovery Pass we want to see.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about the Discovery Pass real quick?
So we did a quick, cost-benefit analysis to figure out, is it worth it to get the Discovery Pass versus directly paying each park entrance fee. And for us, the cost of the pass is likely going to save us money based on the number of locations that we want to go see, obviously weather depending.
So for us, it was a yes. Depending on you, may not be.
Yeah.
Any other logistics thoughts?
I think the biggest logistics thing that was a challenge was booking all the campgrounds because the season's so short and camping's so popular up there that I was literally had calendar reminders set to go and book the national parks and provincial park campgrounds. So I highly recommend that if you're going to plan a trip, you book your sites early, because I was shocked some of them when I went to book were like 75% booked already, and I was like 2 hours after they opened.
Yeah. So that's the budget piece. So that's the route, the logistics, a little bit about budget.
Yeah. What are you excited about?
Oh, I think doing the Bay of Fundy, some of the kayaking, and some other fun things that I want to say, and genealogy too. I'm really interested to find out about my family. So yeah, I think that's it. I'm a little worried about the weather.
Yeah, I'm a little worried that I have a habit of over planning.
Yeah, we need a little downtime.
and planning to go to a lot of locations and see everything we can. So yeah, I'm worried that we may not have enough downtime.
Yeah.
And we maybe need a vacation after the vacation.
Yeah. So we do have a few more final preparations. As we mentioned, we didn't have the food in, clothes and that stuff. So we've still got to do those things. So obviously you've seen our packing strategy. Now you've seen our route planning.
Next week, join us and we'll walk through any last minute prep we need to do before we get on the road.
So make sure to subscribe as we take this journey from planning to reality. As always, keep wandering.
Bye.
I think it's time for me to